While tracking with our dogs, it's important for us to be able to understand and interpret their body language. They will be communicating to us if they are on track, and more importantly, if they are off track. While all dogs will have a different tracking style, their behaviors in response to changes in odor thresholds while on the track will be similar. Some dogs may be quite subtle, but if you watch them carefully, they're going to provide you with important information. This is where video is going to play such a paramount role. Video is going to help you get a proper picture of what your dog looks like when they're locked in on scent and tracking. Another note about using video, as you progress, if you can get a friend to video both you and your dog while tracking, it will also reveal if you are inadvertently giving cues to your dog about the track and its direction. Remember, every dog is going to track in a slightly different style. Don't compare your dog to your friends. Just learn to read and understand how your dog communicates what its nose is discovering by observing their body language. When I ask the question, how do you know your dog is on track? The answer I usually hear is that my dog is pulling hard and moving forward. But what else? What do you see? What do you feel? Many dogs, when they miss a turn, for example, but are still in odor, rush forward, really dig in. If you are not careful, you can interpret this as your dog being on track, when in fact they are not. Arousal rises and they pull harder, racing forward to find the track. Why I love Game 8. It's a perfect game to shape a clear and readable negative or loss of track indication. So, when you're watching your dog and when you are reviewing your videos, I want you to take a special note of what it looks like when they are in scent and on task tracking. Some things to observe. Their overall posture. When on track, our dog's focus is forward. Their forward movement is true and balanced and not haphazard. Watch when they first lock onto the track. They collect up, as they say in the horse world. Now sometimes dogs will quarter the track, going back and forth from left to right over the track. They're actually defining the boundaries of a scent picture. Out of scent, in scent. Out of scent, in scent. Some dogs are actually predisposed to quarter the track. Spaniels, for example. Experience will often reduce the quartering behavior. It can also happen when our dog is starting to lose the track, or if there is a strong transition of odor levels, for example, going from shade to sun. Note your dog's head position. Does your dog track with a deep, low head, a level head, or a high head? How about their ears? Now, if you have a flock-eared dog, this is a little harder, but their ear carriage will probably appear relaxed or softer rather than alert. If your dog has pointy ears, watch those ears carefully, as they can be a huge tell for you. Are the ears forward, back, relaxed, or slightly raised? Tail position and movement. Oh, the magic wagging tail. I've worked crop-tailed dogs for a number of years, and now that I am working a dog with a tail, hallelujah! You can learn a lot by watching the cadence and rhythm of that tail, when they are on track and when they are off track. If you do any man trailing, that tail may provide you with the first sign, along with the change in head carriage, that your subject is close. The sniffing rate. Now I admit this next tell is a little difficult to observe while your dog is actually tracking, but if they are trying to locate an article, it is something you will notice. Tracking behavior will change to searching behavior, and their sniffing rate will increase. And lastly, the feel of the line. Depending on how you decide to handle the line, the feel of the line can definitely help you know if your dog is on track or off track. I like to give my dogs a little more freedom than many people when it comes to line handling. That said, the line still has a particular feel when they're on track and when they're off. Often the first indication that your dog is off track, overshooting a corner or dealing with a scenting challenge, is the line's going to go slack and it's just going to feel different. So let's dive in a little bit on those tracking behaviors. The first one is the negative indication. This is a natural behavioral response to loss of track. It often happens at turns, but can actually happen anywhere along the track as the track odor picture changes, usually from a higher to lower odor picture, like going from shade to sun, for example. The first thing you're going to notice is the dog's pace changes. Dogs usually slow before turning back toward the track. You will often feel this change in the line. The second and very obvious sign is your dog's head comes up or rises from their normal tracking head position. You probably have noticed this behavior while playing Game 8 and even Game 7. Now here's the key. If you can read the negatives, you can stay on track. The next thing is the head flick or head pop. While tracking, you may notice your dog give a quick head flick to the left or to the right. Pay attention to those. This may be a turn. If this is followed by a negative indication, watch to see if your dog works back to where the head flick was. Don't take your dog to the turn, but let them solve the puzzle. The whole flowing head body turn. You'll see this in an urban environment the most. Usually when you're tracking on sidewalks and as you cross a driveway of any kind. The track odor picture often changes, and your dog may get sucked up or down the driveway before flowing back to the track. You'll also see this out in the field. Say you're parallel to a hedgerow and you encounter a gap in that hedgerow. The head or entire body moves in a loose, wavy pattern as they quickly check out that gap and then return to the track. The next one, the 180. I call it the 180, which is short for 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Yes, that is correct. The complete wrong direction. You'll often see this on corners when the dog starts to run what they call in the hound world a heel line. The dog is actually going 180 degrees opposite of the correct track direction. This is usually caused by strong blowing odor in that direction and or scent pulling up against an object in that direction. It can also be caused by terrain features or surface changes. Circling. Circling at the start, corners, or even mid-track is a very natural behavior. It sometimes can be due to arousal in the dog. The dog is tracking along and something changes, and very quickly arousal shoots high. You may get large, loopy, wild circles. Don't fret. As your dog gains experience, these circles will diminish. 90 degrees of perfection. I learned this term from a master trainer, and I really love it. It's a very clear, natural behavior. Your dog will literally bend 90 degrees onto the track. This can happen at the start when first acquiring the track, or when reacquiring the track after they have momentarily lost it. If you start your dog perpendicular to the track, you're already going to see this behavior well. The behavior is clear and unmistakable, and when you see it, you will know your dog is on track. And lastly, the article head swivel. For those of you that do not have an article stare, you are actually in luck, as your dog will often look directly in the direction of the track when they are indicating articles. If your dog turns to face you while indicating articles, watch carefully for that head to swivel towards the track direction. So cement in your mind what it looks like and feels like when your dog is on track. But almost more importantly, what does it feel and look like when your dog is off track, when they're searching? And what does it look like when they reacquire that track again? And lastly, trust your training. Let your dog work. Be patient. They can feel your pressure if you hurry them along the track. Don't assume what they're going to do. Watch them work the problem out. They need to learn how to decipher those scent puzzles, and you really can't do it for them. Happy tracking.